Hey, what's good, everybody? My name's Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about how to actually make income off of being a music producer. This is going to be like zero BS, zero, crazy marketing, blah, 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 all that stuff. We're going to be talking about different revenue streams that you can utilize in order to gain income and then look at a realistic, number figure about what somebody like me makes. There is a position of vulnerability with this, but at the same time, I think that it's important to look at, what your options are and looking at all aspects of what kind of income you can make and hopefully give you some insight if you decide to become a content creator or if you're looking to monetize your brand. That being said, I think that the reason why you should listen to me in the first place is because I am a person that's most likely most related to somebody like you. I'm not super business savvy. I'm not, charting records. I'm not making crazy sales, and I'm not somebody that I would consider to be successful. I'm somebody that works really hard at what I do. I'm somebody that puts a lot of time into making music. I'm somebody that is constantly, mixing it up within the community, and somebody that um, gives you real numbers that are realistic for whatever it is that I do. Does that make sense? So, with that being said, one thing that you could do is just like the video, leave a comment, but let's talk about some different aspects of what it means to make music, or sorry, what it means to make money off of music today. So, the first thing that I think a lot of people are going to mention, which I would put this at the bottom tier of everything, is music sales. So, this is an option, but we'll come back to this in just a second. But this is probably the number one thing that people think about, right? And in that matter, you also have things like, let's just say, placements, which I do not do, slash sync licensing, all that other stuff, and things like that. To me, like I've looked at this idea many times, and I would tell you to beware of scams. Just because there's lots of things to where you can pay for a service in order to have the opportunity to get placements, in order to have the ability to, do whatever. But to be honest with you, I'm not saying that you can't get that, but I feel like it's a whole different world that I haven't been able to crack. So just know that it is a thing, but just, yeah, it's not something that I explore. Where I make most of my money is actually in a matter of YouTube revenue, which isn't much, and content creation. So these are my main breadwinners right here, and we'll get into more of this here in a little bit. There's also things like affiliate marketing, which this year I did not do very much of. Both Bitwig and kilohertz would be my main drivers for this, but I will say that I think that because they've been in transition and stuff, I probably should have been more proactive on this. I've actually made quite a pretty penny off of doing affiliate marketing from those two main people or main companies, but this year I had almost next to nothing from that just because of the transition. But that is definitely a thing. If you get affiliated with a brand and you have a product that you believe in, we'll talk more about that in a second. So what else do we have? We also have sponsored videos, which shout out to Minimal Audio and Lunacy Audio for the sponsored videos that I did in 2024. I didn't do very many of them, but that is something that you can consider. But in order for this to be a thing, you have to already have a platform, right? Same thing with affiliate marketing, same thing with, content creation, YouTube revenue. And we're going to talk more about the overall approach about what my business model means and whatnot as this video unfolds. But sponsored videos is definitely something that you can do. In regards to content creation as well, things like Patreon and all that other stuff are going to be kind of umbrellaed within that. I'm trying to think. There's also some other things that you can do that are kind of offhand, like private lessons. So, um, oops. Oh, I'll just hit the undo. So yeah, there's private lessons. Wrong one, sorry. And then I think the last thing would be like, last two things would be getting gigs slash shows, or being hired for, you know, some kind of thing of like, you know, commercials or movies or, composition or something like that. You know what I mean? Which I have never done anything like this. Um, but I know people that have. And I think that, they're doing really well. What I'm going to focus on are the main things that I do that I've found success in, which is the YouTube revenue, the content creation, and the private lessons, because that is by far the most money that I've made through doing everything music related. But I want to talk about the whole idea about what it means to make money off of doing music in the first place. If you're considering, like, I guess there's also stream revenue, right? So like all of my money is off Spotify. I'll cover that here in a little bit as well. But Spotify slash streams. If I missed any of them, I'm not saying that these are all of them, but here's several different places or several different ways that you can potentially make money off of doing things music related. My advice to you is that you should be doing all of them, but yeah, I think that with the way that things are going, especially with, how crappy streaming services are and, just how abysmal some of that stuff is, a lot of times you're going to end up putting money in with, like DistroKid or paying for Spotify Premium or whatever just to see very little, if any, return. I can say off of music sales in general in the last 10 years, shout out to Corey. She's like the only person that has actually purchased anything that I've ever released. But what I will say is that changing the strategy, if you have a platform, there's some other options that I've actually had a little bit more success in. Not to live off of, but again, we'll talk about that more very soon. Okay, so now that we understand this, what I think is the most important thing for somebody in today's world to discuss is you you kind of have to get out of thinking about making money off of music itself. You need to think about yourself as a brand, and you need to think about how can you exploit your skill in as many different ranges as possible to where you're getting something from, some if not all of these. You kind of like have to take out the idea of, oh, I'm a music producer and I make these dope ass beats and stuff for a living versus honestly just being a content creator. And I will say that if you are not a content creator and you are somebody that already has that platform to stand on, which would be, maybe you've got tons of label releases, tons of, notoriety, you've already got a following, then having a place to bring all of your fans together, all of your supporters together, kind of is the way to go. And it's been like that for the past couple years. Which may or may not be news to you, but this is just what I've learned from talking to people. And so if we understand that, there's lots of different avenues of diversity that you can choose to put your focus into. For me, what I do is I try to make videos over topics that interest me about things that I'm learning. And then I offer people a shortcut, which is presets, samples, all that other stuff that you can go grab in my website. And that honestly has been the biggest number of income, which is the content creation aspect of it, that I've seen the most revenue off of. So I guess if, we're talking about income straight up, I've made $15,000, $15,720 this year off of sales, which has been both a combination of content creation in regards to selling presets, samples, and then also setting up my own personal streaming service via my website. And so what I do is I upload a beat every 2 weeks. And, if you want, you can sign up for something like that, pay $5, get the whole catalog, and then unsubscribe if you want to. But what keeps people going is that I always have something new to pull up and release, even if it's not done, even if it's not released, even if it's not label ready, whatever. It's just something that offers support for the channel. Which doing stuff like that has been much more lucrative than being like, yo, I just spent the last 2 years making an album, somebody please buy it. Because the way that people consume stuff these days in general is through Spotify or through these streaming services because it's the easiest way to find music, right? Why would I buy someone's album when I already pay for a service that, gives me access to millions of songs? And if you think about it, like, it's great for the consumer. It's pretty crappy for the individual artist, and you get fractions of a penny per stream. So unless if you're blowing up, and even if you blow up on Spotify or something like that, I think that it takes like 250,000 streams in order to make $1,000. Do you know how much that is? Do you like, just to put things into perspective, I've got about 25,000 subscribers. Thank you for the follow, David. But I've got about 25,000 subscribers on YouTube right now. And most of my videos hit between, I'd say, 600 to 1,000 views. And so I would have to make, what, 250 videos ish, give or take, in order to make $1,000 in that same way of the revenue streaming service that Spotify offers? Think about it. The difference between making content on YouTube versus something like Spotify is that when you're attacking the Spotify route or you're attacking social media in general, you are trying to inject yourself into what is trending. When you make content on YouTube, you're doing both. The thing is that YouTube is a search engine that when you make content, it is something that will be around forever. And so maybe not right now, whenever I make something, it might not be popular, but 5 years down the road, somebody might be like, wow, Faceplant's really cool. Let me look up something on Faceplant. Boom, there I am. It's a library. It's an archive. It's always up. And so when we're talking about building a brand as a content creator, I'm not saying don't go for Instagram and TikTok and all that other stuff, but rather make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you're attacking YouTube as well, because this is like the only platform that gives you that sense of relevance over long periods of time, where your content doesn't just go into, the deep end that nobody's ever going to look at. You can do whatever you want, but that's why I chose YouTube. That's why I stopped doing Twitch, because there was zero discoverability. And unless if I'm constantly live and I get the right people in and people are really excited about the stuff that I make, which, let's be honest, I don't edit my videos. I'm just a guy that talks about stuff. I'm not fit for that platform. I'm just not that interesting of a person. It is what it is. But if I can have stuff to hopefully give you all really compelling ideas to talk about and, have great discussions for people that want to go deeper into music, then YouTube seems like the way to go. So with content creation, that also goes into making videos. That also goes into live streaming. It also goes into kind of like the overarching thing about the ad revenue on YouTube. And I'm not going to talk about how much ads pay, because it's going to vary from person to person, but just know that it's based off of a per 1,000 views. And so because of that, you could get somewhere between $3 per 1,000 view up to, I've gotten $12 per 1,000 views on really good days, really good months. You never know. It's a very volatile market, and I would not put all of your eggs in that basket of saying, man, this video got a lot of views. That means I'm going to make a lot of money, right? No. So looking at the actual numbers, this year, I've made $6,199 off of ad revenue itself. And so I think our total is kind of summing up to closer on the end of 22K so far. So that's about how much money I've made out of content creation on a platform. The beauty behind all this stuff is that I want to give you the realistic numbers of what's going on, but understand that with this business model, it can scale. Like, there's no ceiling. If I get lucky, if my stuff does go viral and more people are interested in my presets, more people are interested in the content that I create, and people are more willing to purchase those things, like I might be having this conversation with you tomorrow that might be like, yo, this shit blew up and people like really love the things that I make, and now I'm making a lot more sales. And you have to understand that there are no guarantees, especially if you're your own business, which I will say that if you do make presets, if you do make things, put your energy into making something that somebody's actually going to like, whether it be it's really easy to use, whether it be it's unique sounds, or for me, what I try to do is make these playgrounds that every time you open it, you're going to get something different. You know, I have stuff for Faceplant that's like, here's one patch and it gives you everything. It does drums, it does bass, it does neuro bass, it makes, you know, pads, it makes all different kinds of things, but it's designed for you to source material from in order for you to start making your track. And that's a very unique thing because a lot of times people are like, here's one bass, you know, here's one sound that this patch does. And so I have a unique avenue. You want to try to find something like that in order to be able to give you a unique edge. Or if you already have really good music to stand on, which some people I've talked to in the past about this do, then you say, hey, I'm going to put together some stems from this track that I released or whatever and release it as a beat kit. Or here's some, you know, whips that I was working on. They're not really, I'm not going to do anything with them. Here's, you know, a toolkit for to help you, you know, when you've got this beat block or whatever. To which I would say, I would recommend that if possible, you don't go the splice route. You go the route of self-releasing. You can release on Splice. I think that if I'm not mistaken, some other people can correct me on this, but Splice and a lot of other companies will do a buyout to where you'll get a flat rate for something. Say like, you know, what that rate is, I don't know, but just, you know, 1200 or whatever. But if you release yourself and you say this is $20 a thing, then maybe initially you might not make $20, but in the long run, you might continue to keep making $20 off of that, and you get to keep all of it. So all of your content is your own intellectual property that goes to you directly. The difference, though, is that if you do release with somebody like Splice or whatever, which I've never done, they'll do a buyout, and then maybe somebody might be like, oh, wow, this is Alckemy's, you know, snare samples or whatever off of Splice. Does he have anything else? Again, you don't want to put your money in all that, but it is something to consider whenever you are doing things. So, yeah. Content creation as a whole changes stuff. You do need to make music, but you also need to kind of start creating content in a way that begins to self-oscillate. If I'm making music, I'm making content. If I'm trying to make music and I fail, I'm making content. You know, I'm trying to make this bass right now, blah, 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 whatever. That's a video. This is why I live stream so much. I'm trying to, you know, design a snare. Oh, well, now I've kind of like got up until this breaking point of this track, which I no longer like, whatever. And now I'm going to make a video about me trying to solve it. Oh, somebody asked me a question in chat. I can make a video about that. Oh, I don't like this song anymore, but I made some elements that are really cool. Let me take the drum loop and save it later for a preset, or sorry, for a sample pack or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, you kind of have to start framing your mindset with things that are going to help bring you into this piece of ever creating content. And the more that you do that, and the more that you kind of just like realize the grander scheme of things, and then you start realizing the value of everything that you put together as somebody who makes music, assuming that you don't go the direction of, hey, let me watch a video on how to sound like Skrillex and then just copy the video and then say, buy my preset pack. I wouldn't recommend doing that, which unfortunately a few people got away with, but I'm hoping that the community is becoming more aware of those trying to do that. This is all assuming that you have good intentions, that you want to make things that are better for the community, and that you have something that that comes from you, as opposed to like a get rich quick scheme, you know. But I can't speak for you, and if that's what you take away from this video and you have a plan, then what can you say? What could I say? You know, I think that leads to the next thing, which helps a lot, which is at a certain point when you're growing, my philosophy anyways, and what do I know? You know, I've been on this platform for, it'll be 7 years coming in June. But I can say in good faith that I have tried to focus more on building myself more so as a person that is relatable, that you can trust, that has a good reputation, good morals, blah, 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 all that other stuff, than somebody that is just, you know, absolutely fucking insane at producing. I'd like to, you know, dip into a little bit of that, but I'm not that person, and I don't know if I ever will be, and I can only be as good as I can get, blah, blah, blah. But being a good person goes a long way, because eventually people are going to stop thinking about, oh, I know Alckemy as, this crazy producer or whatever. And instead, I know him more so as a person. People will fall more in love with the person. That will last a lot longer, building relationships and all that other stuff, than, oh, he made a cool song that's going to be trending for 2 weeks and then he never makes anything else. Does that make sense? Because at a certain point, like, you might want to do other stuff other than just make music or just make bass videos or whatever. I'm that person. I just can't do it all the time. I can't be like, all right, let's figure out another thing to make a video about. In good consciousness, if it's not something that I haven't discussed before or I don't have a new spin on what I've made. That's why I don't really do a lot of bass videos anymore. I don't really do a lot of tutorials anymore sometimes, but like, I've pretty much taught you all everything that I know. And so what comes after that? Well, what? Oh, we wrap up? No, we have to find new things to discuss, or I have to find new things that help keep things interesting. And that's part of the unfortunate part of, sorry to be redundant, but yeah, that's like the unfortunate side of what it means to be a content creator and keep people interested in your channel, for the newcomers or what's trending or whatever. I think that it's definitely possible, but these are just things to be considerate of, and those are some challenges that you might run into, because I've run into them whenever it comes into, all that other stuff. So once you've built a platform, to which, in order to become monetized on YouTube, you need at least 1,000 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time. And streaming is probably the easiest way to do that, unless if you get some viral content, which I would never bank on. I don't think that I've ever made a viral video in my life, and that's okay. I'm more so, I tend to value like the value and the content of the video, as opposed to, God, I hope this gets millions of views, if that makes sense. But yeah, don't put your eggs in getting viral unless if that's all you study and that's what you try to do. To which I would say, if you're trying to go viral, consider making remixes of popular songs, or, just pay attention to what's trending on YouTube and make content based off of that. But please try to do it in a way that is authentic. One thing that I personally can't stand, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but just as a consumer, because I'm on YouTube a lot, as I'm on YouTube as much as I make stuff on YouTube, is, yo, what's good, everybody? Check it out. It's your boy Alckemy, and we're going to get in down today and make this bass that sounds like Skrillex. And it's like, what the hell am I watching? This is a clown show, which maybe some people think about that with my content, but that's not my intention anyways. So try to be authentic about what you do. It's going to last longer. You need to think about, even if you make one viral video, it doesn't mean that your next video needs to be viral. It also doesn't, it doesn't mean that your next video needs to be viral, but it does mean that you need to have some follow-up of actual, substance that is going to keep people engaged with whatever it is that you're doing. The music does not sell. You use the music to sell stuff. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video, but generally speaking, yeah. That's really important. So yeah, through all the endeavors of content creation, affiliate marketing, through music streams, I guess, which would kind of combine both of those, we're looking at about 22K. Now, the next piece of that is the other scaling thing, which is affiliate marketing. If you get some brands or something that you really believe in, which, don't be that person and just take anything. Like, I only do pretty much two. There's a couple of other ones that I've tried, but I only pretty much do two. That's Bitwig and that's Kilohertz. Do you know why? What am I using on stream every day? Bitwig and Kilohertz. Shout out to those companies. I love them dearly, and there's a reason why it's easy for me to recommend them. And so that means that it's easy for me to promote their stuff. If you get Joe Schmo, Delay Llama or whatever, and you're trying to like market that to people, like, it's going to reflect on your reputation. It's going to reflect on your, really just what you stand for. And a lot of people are going to be able to pick up on it. You can also do stuff like gear reviews and things like that, to where you have affiliate marketing with like, what's it called? Perfect Circuit and stuff like that. And you say, hey, if you purchase from here, then I get a small percentage or whatever. And so that way it kind of takes you out of, saying, hey, buy this, or trying to make a recommendation. You can just say, what's good about this? What's bad about this? Here are my thoughts. Be honest about it. And, and then give people an option to help you. But I generally don't push for that kind of stuff just because sometimes it's a little bit overboard. Um, but who's to say? And that kind of gets into something else that is not talked about a lot, to where if you build your brand up a little bit, then sometimes you can get plugins for free and you can review that and you can use that as leverage, especially if it's something that you know that you would want to use. For example, there's quite a few plugins that I've been fortunate enough to kind of collaborate with companies on, to where maybe I didn't get a paycheck, but I was like, hey, would you offer me an NFR and let me review your stuff and, see what's going on? See if, maybe see what it's about and just cover it. Because the thing about that is that it's free advertising. If you are a plugin company and you're trying to get yourself out there or whatever, especially for smaller channels and stuff, like that exchange is pretty common. And, if somebody does give you that opportunity to review something, do a good job and, say what you want to say or whatever. But keep in mind that that's free advertising, which when you get a bigger channel, it's a lot easier to say, okay, well, because I've got 30K subscribers, whatever, I don't have the time to do a review on this. So that's where that leads into sponsored videos. You know what I'm saying? As your brand builds, your time diminishes and what your resources go out to become more narrow. So the value of your time increases, which goes into the same thing that I do sometimes whenever we talk about like tune feedback or whatever, right? I used to do it to where tune feedback was free. And I used to do it to where I would sit there all day and spend 20 minutes giving somebody my thoughts on a thing, where I started realizing that I'm getting like 20, 30 people in there and I'm giving them pretty much private lessons. And sometimes it would go on for hours. And I was like, I can't do that anymore. And also the advice that I give is something that I would normally be giving out of a private lesson. So I changed my model out of that. You still need to serve the community. You still need to do things for them, and you still need to be somebody that gives people a voice that normally wouldn't, especially like if you plan on being an authentic role within the producer community or whatever it is that you decide to do this in, because all this stuff applies for, it could be about gaming or Elden Ring or, what the fuck, Yu-Gi-Oh. Those are other things that I enjoy watching on YouTube. But you still need to serve the community, having things to where you get to highlight and showcase other people is something to where you empower your community by sharing with, giving them a place to share their stuff. But also, like, you might run into people that you might want to collaborate with. You might run into people that you learn from. It changes. And that stuff is so important, especially for having like an online community or being present online in general. Like, you really need to take advantage of those social skills that you would probably be doing in person as well. And you need to be proactive about it for sure. So in any case, that's how you go from like, doing reviews of people that send you stuff to getting into sponsored videos and, work with them, especially if they're smaller companies. If they're big companies, be careful about that stuff too. Read a contract, and the best way to go about a lot of that stuff is to ask for half up front, sign a contract. Ask for half up front, sign a contract, and then half after the content is done. And that's just a really good way to help protect you, so that way you're not wasting your time and that way people aren't taking advantage of you. The other thing that sometimes is a little bit easier to get by though is if people don't follow through, you can always like delist your video or take it down. I've never run into this issue, but the trade-off with that is that if you don't sign anything or these people don't pay you, you still made the video, you still wasted your time. So kind of keep that in consideration. Yeah, so sponsored content. Private lessons. If you are an educator, because not everybody that does YouTube videos for music production are educators. They do entertainment, or they do, I don't know, reviews, or, just other shit in general. Then you can say, hey, I offer privates, and, offer them at a rate that is comfortable to whatever whatever you feel like you're worth. I tend to make my private lessons pretty cheap because, well, I want private lessons and I want people to understand the value that I have to offer whenever we talk about this. And try to do it in a way that is going to set somebody up for a path that they know where they're going. That was something that Frequent did with me, and that was something that, I've been a teacher for a long time. I went from teaching martial arts and acrobatic tricking and stuff to teaching music now, and just all different kinds of education. I've taught cheer, tumbling. Yeah, I've been teaching for over half my life. But if you want somebody to come back for private lessons, then setting up a lesson plan for them is extremely helpful. Work with people who might not have a large amount of income, because let's face it, I think that people that are into music production and stuff that are searching for lessons usually aren't the ones that are balling. They're trying to be the people that get to even the position that I'm in of making 22K off of, content creation, affiliate marketing, YouTube revenue, and blah, blah, blah. I would say that this past year, I charge $40 a lesson, and I've made about $500 ish in private lessons, give or take. So that's another 500. From sponsored videos and stuff, I've probably sponsored videos, and then also I've been hired for some gigs for content creation of like making presets and stuff. I've made about 1,200, give or take. These are estimates. This number is pretty solid. And again, this number changes depending on how kind the algorithm is to you or how interesting your products are. But there's that number. And then you also have, things like getting DJ gigs and all that other stuff, to which everything that I said about half up front, whatever, I don't think that most people operate that way, but there's nothing wrong with asking for it. Whenever I was in circus and I would do gigs for like corporate and stuff, that would be what I did. I would say, hey, my base rate is $400 for the day, plus per diem, plus payment for any kind of training that I have to do. And I prefer half up front and half after. And that number has changed over time. I don't do gigs anymore. Like, I just train for fun or whatever. But that's something that you have to be comfortable with making a claim about, because people will try to take advantage of whatever it is that you offer. You need to really do some research into understanding what a good price is for the job that is being asked, and also do something that you know that you're going to be able to deliver, and also something that is going to be realistic for you to be able to manage with all this other shit that you have to deal with, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm trying to think about what else we could cover. So yeah, getting gigs, DJing, all that other stuff. This should all play in. So like, if you get a DJ gig, freaking record the set and then put it on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I've only done a few DJ gigs in my life. I actually don't know jack shit about DJing. But whenever I did, I would only play my own stuff. And the reason why is because, for one, how often do I get to DJ? Almost never. But two, it's like, I put all this time into making stuff, and I've got all these different genres that I've made that kind of go together in a set that I think people would enjoy. So there's that. But I don't expect to go out and play stuff and then have people come up to me and be like, where can I find your music, bro? Like, it never works that way. It's always just been, do what's appropriate. If you're going to a techno club and you're going to DJ dubstep, like, yeah, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Thankfully, the gigs that I've played, everybody pretty much played halftime. So it was really easy to be like, yo, I've got a halftime set or a hip hop or, whatever. Like, those are considerations that kind of go into play. So yeah, you do have music sales. You have stuff like Bandcamp, and if you use a distributor like DistroKid, all that other stuff, you can do it. I don't make shit off of it. Whenever my friends release music that I really like, if Chi puts out an album, I'm gonna buy it. If Saruta releases an album, he doesn't know me, but I'm gonna buy it. If my buddy Kyle puts out some music, I'm gonna buy it, because even though it's not gonna change his life, it's a matter of putting into the community what you would hope to get out from someone else, and I think that's important to. I don't know. That's important to mention. Yeah, YouTube revenue varying, content creation. Starting a Patreon, or coming up with exclusive content that's different. I've got two. So I don't have a Patreon, but I have the membership thing, which ties into the music sales, and then also, the YouTube memberships, which are two different things, to where sometimes I release presets or early access to videos, all that other stuff. But that goes into play of just, here's something extra that's optional that doesn't really take away from the core of what my platform is about, because I don't really withhold information. there's one thing that I withhold information from, and that's drum design. That's the only thing that I don't really like teach anymore on YouTube as a public video, just because I don't know, it's a sacred thing to me. I'm just weird about it. Whatever. Bass design, I do so much of my own exploration, and the private lessons that I go through with talking to other people are almost never about bass anymore. It's always about drums. Cage can attest to that. Um, Chi could attest to that. It's always about drums. I don't know. So that's, I try not to be that person that takes a lesson from somebody and then makes a video about it. It just feels disingenuine. And so, everything that I've learned from drum design and stuff has had probably the most blood, sweat, and tears put into that. Sorry, tangent. So yeah, then you've got affiliate marketing, but you can kind of see that all of this, in order for these things to line up, the core of it is that you need to start building a platform, because that's where the doors really open up for you. And that's where, if you do have a little bit of business savviness, or you already have a following, platform, regardless of what that looks like, it's really easy to open up these doors and get into these other streams of income. Theoretically, and I say easy, like, this stuff takes time and you have to have a certain skill set or whatever, but it's easier because you don't have to show up with a suit and fucking tie for a job interview. You get what I'm saying? This is something that, however much time you put into it, and through, a lot of studying and a lot of other stuff and development and blah, 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 a lot of this stuff are probably things that you would normally be doing anyways. It's just that here's what this structure looks like. Here's how you actually, express this and whatever. So yeah, all in all, last year, 2024, I made significantly less money than I usually do. I'd say about by like anywhere from 5 to 10 grand. But generally speaking, I make about anywhere from 28 to 30K a year, from everything related to music, to kind of summarize things. And, unfortunately, I'm a one-man team, and my primary focus is still on the music. So maybe as much time as I could spend on getting into marketing and all that other shit, I put it into the music. I also still spend a lot of money on music related things, or like whatever income I get, I reinvest into the channel. So that actual final number is going to be significantly less. The other thing is that, because and this is really important for everybody, especially if you're in America, is that you have to pay taxes on this shit. So, you need to take that into consideration. But, for somebody that doesn't have kids, is not married, and pretty much only has to pay rent, and insurance and all that other stuff, is this livable? Within Las Vegas, it's doable. I am extremely frugal with my money. I do, if I buy something that's extravagant, it's most likely going to be music related, because it's something that might be able to earn me money. For example, if I, buy a Digitact and I start making content on the Digitact, and then I set up some affiliate marketing on how to do that, like, that's a legit strategy if I wanted to do that. If I bought Faceplant, started making videos about Faceplant, got into affiliate marketing with them because they recognize that it's a good product, like, that can actually bring you some real numbers. But I think that this conversation is important, again, because I'm somebody that, most of you, if you have regular jobs, you probably make more money than I do, to be honest. And I think that it's really important to be transparent about this. But the trade-off is that, yeah, I do get to make, I do this for a living. It's not a great living. It's not the best living. But I enjoy my life, and there's not really anything else on the planet that I'd rather be doing, unless if I was still in Circus LA. I'd still trade that in a heartbeat for anything, because that's the funnest job I've ever had. Here you go, right here. You probably can't see it because of that, but that's my Chris Angel plaque on the last day of, or the last show before they closed. And then I've got another one here, and then I also have a Marvel Universe Live one that I haven't hung up yet. But yeah, that's been my legacy. So don't quit your job if you're wanting to get onto YouTube, at least not initially, especially if you're a music producer. But understand that the potential for income and the ceiling is there. It doesn't exist, but you kind of have to attack it of having an angle that builds over time slowly, usually, unless if you're just gifted. But I would say that while I have skills, and while I've cultivated a lot of shit, I'm not, you know, a prodigy. I'm not somebody that's like, you don't listen to my music. Most people don't even know me for my music, but you still don't watch my videos and be like, that's the dopest shit I've ever heard. It's more of somebody that's like, hey, this could be my neighbor, you know, or like this could be my friend from college or something that I grew up with, and what he's saying makes sense. And that's just the kind of person that I am. And that's the kind of person that is always the easiest to be on YouTube, I think, is just somebody that is relatable. So, anyways, if you enjoyed this, please, if you could like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. I think that this is stuff that is incredibly important to discuss. If you've got other avenue or other revenue potential or something and you want to discuss it, then I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. If you want to support my channel, alchemy.com is the easiest way. Becoming a member. My sounds are unique. I have demos for all of my sounds on every pack within the description of those. And don't buy anything that you don't think that you would like. My business model is based off of things that will impress you and will be useful to you. So that's all I can really say. And if nothing else, check out the other videos that I have, because this is a music channel. I am not a music YouTuber. I'm a music producer that is making YouTube videos, and I think that's an important distinction. So with that, much love, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you all in the next one.